Up until this point, we've basically just been fetching data from the blockchain and stashing it in our Redux store. And we've been reading that data out of the Redux store and displaying it into our application, right? We listed the trades, we listed the order book, all of our transactions, and the price chart, right? So now what we want to do is actually move on to the next phase where we're going to be triggering transactions. We're going to create new transactions on the blockchain from our client-side application. And we're going to use MetaMask to sign the transactions so that they're executed on the blockchain and written to it forever. All right. And I want to start us off, easy. I want to start by simply just canceling an order. All right. So we have open orders here. What I want to do is wire up this checkbox to cancel the order. So what's going to happen is we'll click it. We'll see a MetaMask confirmation come up that asks us to sign the transaction. Say, are you sure you want to cancel the order? And we'll sign that with our account, with our private key, and that'll create a transaction on the blockchain. All right. Whenever it's finished, this order will disappear, and it will also disappear from this list. So that's the really great thing about how we've built our client-side applications. We're going to get real-time updates from the blockchain anytime something changes, right? We'll see all those changes reflected within our app. We'll get all that behavior for free. So we've done a lot of hard work up to this point, but that's going to lay the foundation for all the features we need our exchange to have. All right, so let's go back to our code and open the My Transactions component. All right, if you scroll down, let's find it. You'll see this X, right? This is where we cancel the order. What we're going to do is basically just wire this up to, work like we want. So I'm going to break this up, all right, like this. And let's make it a capital X, actually. I like that better. And inside of here, I'm going to create a function that gets run anytime we click this X. So React allows us to do that with onClick, like this, onClick. All right. Then we just say equals, and we evaluate JavaScript inside of here. So we pass it a function, we say E. All right. And now what I want to do is basically just console log that this is working. So console log, canceling order. Save that, go back to our browser. I'll open the console here, and let's click it. Sorry, it's hard to see with this all scrunched up, but we'll find it. There we go. All right, so click it, and it's canceling the order. Awesome. And while I'm here, I also want to add a class to this. We'll call this cancel order. This will pick up some styles from our style sheet that will let us, hover over it and see a pointer so that we know it's clickable. All right, there we go. Yeah, see a pointer, and we click it, and we're canceling the order. Okay. So now let's wire this function up. Instead of just console logging, let's create an action that will actually cancel the order on the blockchain. So let's go to our interactions file. And I'm going to create a new function that will cancel the order inside of here. Okay. I'll say export const cancel order. And this is going to take a few arguments, which we'll fill in a second. But inside of here is where we actually want to cancel the order on the blockchain. So what do we need in order to do that? Well, we need a copy of the smart contract from Web3.js. And we want to be able to call, the functions on it, okay? We want to be able to basically, take that and say, call the cancel function. So if you go to our Exchange smart contract, here's the cancel order function. Basically, we want to call this, all right? We see that it accepts an order ID, and we want to pass in that order ID. We need to know about the account that's trying to call it, and we also need to trigger a Redux action, so we'll need the dispatch, okay? So we'll say dispatch exchange. That'll be the smart contract for the exchange that we'll use with Web3.js. And we'll say order and account. Let's take a quick look at the Web3 documentation for smart contracts. So if you remember from the Introduction to Web 3 section and also earlier in the bootcamp capstone project, I talked about how there are two different types of methods on smart contracts. There's call methods and there's send methods. All right. So call methods allow you to just fetch data from the blockchain from the smart contract. You don't have to pay any gas or anything. Send methods will require you to actually, create transactions. So we fetch the method from the smart contract and we, call or we call send. So in this case, we'll call send. Every function that we've used in before in the capstone project, we've used call. Now we're going to use send. All right. So I'll leave a link to this in the video resources as well. I'll cancel the order with the smart contract like this. I'll say exchange. Oops, sorry. All right, this will be the smart contract that provided by Web3. Remember, we have access to this inside of our Redux state. If you look at the state, we can go to exchange contract, and here's the contract that we'll use. Okay, that's the Web3 contract that we can call the functions on. So we'll say methods, just like the documentation, right? Go back here, exchange methods, and we're going to call cancel or cancel order, and then we'll call send. Cancel order, pass in the order ID, and then send. All right, and send will accept some metadata. So we saw this a little bit in the test for the smart contracts. We'll say from, and then account. We'll pass the account in that we're connected to with the blockchain. All right, and then on. All right, well, actually, before I do that, so that's all we need to do, right? So we could, pass in a callback here, or we could, handle this as a promise chain. We could async away. There's all kinds of ways we can handle this function call because it is asynchronous. Remember, we've been doing a lot with asynchronous function calls and implementing strategies for that. But I'm going to use a different approach here because we're on a client-side interaction. I actually want to say on, all right, transaction hash, all right, and then say hash, and then dispatch our Redux action. All right, so we will fill that in a second. So what I want to do is basically wait for the transaction hash to come back from the blockchain before we trigger a Redux action that the order is canceling. All right. So let me explain that a little further. If you scroll down in this Web3 documentation, just below my methods, we'll see some examples, right? So we can say my contract, my methods, call or send, excuse me, and pass in some metadata. You can use the callback function like this, all right? Or you can use the promise, right? You can say then, and then wait for the receipt. And then you can use this thing called an event emitter, right? And that's exactly what we're doing right now. We can wait for several different actions or events in the transaction lifecycle, and we can do things whenever those events take place. So whenever the transaction hash is available, we can do something. Whenever we get a confirmation from the blockchain, we can do something. And there's lots of confirmations, right? There's multiple. Whenever a receipt comes back, we can do something. Whenever an error comes back, we can do something. So here's all the options that we have available to us, all right? So we're basically just going to use transaction hash and error. So if I get a transaction hash, I know that at least, something happened on the blockchain. It's enough for our purposes to say that, yes, this order is canceling. But if we get an error, we'll say, hey, something broke, and we'll alert the user, all right? So also note that I'm just going to use this to denote that the order is canceling, not that it's actually completely canceled, okay? And I'll explain that more in a minute, but for now, we're just going to update our application state to say that it is indeed canceling, all right? So inside of here, what I'll do is say on transaction hash, we're going to dispatch a Redux action, but on error, all right, let's see here, error, we are going to console log the error, and we're also going to window.alert. There was an error. All right, so if it didn't work, we're going to let the user know, and we'll log the error out to the console so that we can see it. All right, we don't necessarily want to put that in the alert message for the window. We want to be able to look at it as a developer in the console. Okay. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to cancel the order with the smart contract, and we were going to dispatch the Redux action that it is canceling if the transaction hash comes back. Okay, so let's create the Redux action. I want to dispatch a new action that basically says order canceling. All right, so I don't want to say that's actually completely canceled. I just want to say that canceling is in progress. All right, and what we're going to do is basically show the spinner while it's canceling. And then we're going to wait for the event to come back from the blockchain, this cancel event, before we update the rest of our application state to show the canceled order, right? So we're going to have an order canceling event and then an order canceled event. And I'll kind of show you how that works. So just hang tight and it'll all make sense in a second. So let's create this order canceling. I'm going to go ahead and import it even though we haven't created it yet. Let's say order canceling. And then we'll go to actions. And we'll create a new action down here. I'll just copy this. And we'll say, order canceling. Do it just like this. Boom. So order canceling, type order canceling. We don't need to return any data because all we need to know is that, it is canceling. We can go to our Redux store, reducers, or the reducers, I should say, to update the Redux store. And we'll update the exchange, right? And what we want to do is basically just tell it that the order is canceling. That's all we care about at this point. So I'll create a new action here. We'll do it after all the orders are loaded and just say that the order is canceling like this, all right? So update the state and say order canceling true. It's just a Boolean. We don't stash any other data in there. And all we want to do really is just tell the app that cancel is in progress, and we'll update the UI to show the spinner, right? All right, so let's go to our app, and it's probably, okay, it's not broken, that's good. Let's use some of this stuff. So in order to wire this up, the function we created in the interactions, we need a few things. We need to import this function into our component, right? We need to call it inside the onClick handler, and we need to pass in some of these values, right? So we need access to the order, we need access to the exchange, and we also need access to the account, okay? So let's create a few of these things. We should have access to dispatch inside of our component, and we can use selectors to get the exchange and the account, and the order should also be available to us already inside the component. So let's go there. Here's my transactions. All right, we're gonna, call this function here. Let's pull it back up. So cancel order. Let's import that from interactions. All right, so we will import cancel order from ... interactions. All right. Make sure that worked. Oh, can't resolve that. So it's in store, sorry. Store. Okay. And we'll use it inside of here. It's cancel order. All right, we'll clear out this. And now we need to pass in the arguments. So we get dispatch. We can get access to that. So let's do it like this. We're passing in my open orders right here. Let's pass in props, okay? So this will be props instead. And let's read a few things out of props. We can do that like this. A const my open orders. And then also dispatch. We'll fetch both those things out of props. And we'll pass props in to show my orders. All right. we'll just take this off. All right, let's make sure we're still good. Oh, my filled orders. Okay, so it looks like that didn't work. We need to also modify this one, so we'll just copy this as well. Remove dispatch. Say props. Let's try this again. Reload the page. All right, so my filled orders is not defined. Oh, my filled order, sorry. All right, let's try that again. Okay. So looks like we still got an issue here. Show my open orders. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Oh, I see. So I'll do that. And then, oops. All right, so that's working. So now those two things look similar and we don't have any issues. Let's actually pass in all of the arguments that we need for cancel order. All right, so we need dispatch, we have that. We need the exchange. Let's see, we need the order, and we need the account. All right, so we have access to the order already right here. And now we need the exchange and the account. So we can do that with the selectors. Basically, we'll just say exchange selector and then account selector. We've, we've already created these inside of our selectors file. So I'll just say exchange selector, state, and then account, state. All right. So now these are available to us in props, which we've passed in all the way down through each of these functions. And now I'll say exchange and then account. All right. And now we have everything that we need in order to do this. So dispatch, exchange, order, account. I'm just going to copy these. Boom, dispatch, exchange, order, account. And let's try it. So to make sure that's working, I'm going to console log inside here. Console, well, actually we'll know it's working whenever we hit this because MetaMask will pop up. All right, so no issues yet. Let's try to cancel an order and just see what happens. Uh-oh, sorry, this worked, but it popped up on the other screen. Here we go. Here's our MetaMask confirmation. It's actually, at least we're calling the right function. Let's see if it works. Boom. All right, you can't see it, but I just got a MetaMask confirmation on my other monitor here. Let's see here. I'll pull up Ganache, and I'll prove to you that it worked. So let's see, transactions. There you go, contract call. All right. And we can see the, yeah, I'm pretty sure it worked. So let's refresh the page and see that it went away. So that was this one, this 100 token order, all right, for 0.001. All right, it's either this one or this one. I can't remember from this perspective. Let's just refresh the page and one of these should disappear. All right, it went away. Sorry, it's at the bottom of my monitor, so it might be cut off for you, but I'll scroll up. There it was. There was a 100 order here, and it went away. So we did indeed cancel it. Awesome. So that is a great step one. So step two is we want to actually repopulate this order book and hide the order here, after it's canceled. Right? That's our ultimate goal. And actually, I just realized before we get there, though, we need to reflect this order canceling state. So you can't just click it again or try to cancel a bunch of orders all at one time, go willy-nilly. So whenever we click this X, let's show the spinner. All right. So we can do that like this. We'll go back to our selectors file and we will create an order canceling selector. That's going to read the canceling status from the state. So I'll go there. And down here at the bottom, sorry, I'll just create some space. I'll say this, order canceling. All right. And I'll go back to my transactions and I'll import order canceling selector. Okay. And I did that kind of fast, but let me just show you. This works just like every other basic Boolean selector. We just, dig into the exchange and see if this order canceling flag is there. If it's not, we default to false, and we just create a selector that, checks whether that order is canceling or not. So back to my transactions. We imported this already, so order canceling selector, and we will now use it down here. So we'll refactor this a little bit. We'll basically say we want to, we want to determine whether we want to show this section, right? So this is, my open orders. So we only want to show my open orders if they are loaded, all right? We do that already. So show my open orders if the orders are loaded, but we also only want to show them. We want to hide it if the order is canceling, which is the same thing as saying we don't want to show it if it's not canceling. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, I think it'll make more sense when I show you in the code. All right. So here, show my open orders. I'm going to refactor this and put it out here and say show my open orders. Well, actually, let's do it like this. I'll say const, my open orders loaded equals this, right? So that will be true or false. And then I'll say const order canceling equals order canceling selector, say state. So the logic here is this, and I'll create some more space in case you can't see. We only want to show my open orders if open orders is loaded, right? So that will be true if we want it to. And we want to only show it if it's not canceling. Does that make sense? So you want to hide it if it's canceling. So that's why we use bang, which means just the opposite of that, right? All right, so I'll save that and go back to the page. Let's try to cancel another order, and hopefully we should just see this thing come up with a spinner, and it should hang on the spinner. That's the behavior we expect, all right? So we'll cancel this order that's there for 90, and I'll see this MetaMask confirmation pop up. Click confirm. All right, there we go. So the order is just spinning right here. That's what we expect to happen. Now what we want to do is wait for the event to get triggered on the blockchain to come back, and then we'll hide the spinner and we'll remove it from this table, and it'll remove it from the order book as well. So that's our next step. All right, let's go ahead and implement that. So to do that, what we want to do is wait for this order event here. Sorry, cancel event. I think I might have said order event a second ago. I meant cancel event. Wait for this cancel event to get triggered, right? So inside of this cancel order function, we emit the cancel event. And whenever this gets triggered, we'll listen for it in our app. We'll get the event, and we'll add that cancel order to the state. All right. So I'll show you how to do that. Inside of interactions, we're going to subscribe to a smart contract event. So here, when we loaded all the orders, we just fetched the smart contract event stream, right? We just fetched all the events. But what we can also do is subscribe to individual events and listen for them and wait for them to happen, right? And whenever we do that, we can trigger things in our app if that event occurred. I'll point you to the Web3 documentation, and I'll put a link to this in the video resources. So my contract events and then my event, basically this is how we subscribe to events. And you can see all the possible options here, and also, some scenarios and some examples, right? So we can subscribe to a cancel event like this. We could filter it if we wanted to. We could, specify the blocks that we want to subscribe to. It can use, these like we just did with the functions. There's all kinds of stuff that we can do. We're going to keep it pretty simple, but I'll show you how to do it in our app, okay? So you can refer back to this documentation if you want to learn more about how you can, interact with the blockchain by listening to events and subscribing to them with Web3, okay? So we're going to create a function here called, let's see, what do we want to call this? We'll call it subscribe to events. Say export const subscribe to events. All right, this will be an async function. I'll say we're gonna basically require our Redux dispatch, and we'll need the exchange smart contract. All right, so inside of here, we're just going to do exactly what the smart contract documentation said, or sorry, the Web3 documentation said. So my contract will be exchange, and we'll say events, and then we'll pass in the event name here, or we'll say the event name or call the event name. So that'll look like this: exchange events cancel, and then I'm not going to do anything fancy here. I'm just going to pass in an empty object and say I'm going to pass in a callback function error, and then actually see the event. All right. And now what I want to do is dispatch a Redux action. Say dispatch. And we'll say order canceled, which we'll define in a second. And now, if you remember, when we logged all the events from the event stream, we only cared about the return values from the event, right? Remember? There's all this extra data, and we just said we want the return values. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take those. So event.return values. So events coming back from the callback function, and we'll just grab the return values from it. We'll say order canceled. And so now what we want to do is basically take that canceled order and put it in our Redux state, right? So if you look at the state right now, we've got the exchange, we've got filled orders, all orders, and canceled orders. Remember, we loaded these up. We basically want to add the canceled orders to this array of data. All right, so here's our newly canceled order. We just canceled this a minute ago. All right, so we want to add new orders here anytime the event is triggered, right? Because we'll have the order data. That's what's awesome about it. We'll just stick it in here, all right? So let's do that. We'll go to our actions, and we will create an action that says that the order was canceled. So just below this cancel order action, I'm going to define a new one, call order canceled, like this. All right. So it's going to say order canceled. Here's the type, and we just pass in the order data, all of it. This is from the event. And then we'll go to our reducers, okay, and we'll go to the exchange reducer, and we want to, like I said, update this exchange canceled orders data. All right. So inside of here, what we'll do is, I'm going to give ourselves some space. All right, below order canceling, I'll say case order canceled, and then say return. And this will probably get a little big, so just bear with me. State, all right, just like we did here. But now what we want to do is say order canceling. We want to update this to false. And we want to say canceled orders. All right. And then say state canceled orders. And say data. Oops, sorry. And that will be state canceled orders. Data. And then action order. Boom. That should be everything that we need. All right. So let me just think here, make sure we didn't miss anything. All right, I think that's all that we need in order to make this happen. So let's see if we're compiling correctly. All right, we got a little issue. Order canceled is not defined in interactions. That's okay. We can just import it. So we'll say order canceled. All right, we'll go in here. And let's try to cancel another one and see if it goes away. So I'll just cancel this one. We will click X. We'll have our MetaMask confirmation pop up. Click confirm, and we'll wait. So we're waiting. All right, let's see what the issue is. It seems like it's not quite working. All right, so I don't see any errors here. Let's just see if, oh, I know what happened. Basically, we haven't actually called the subscribe events function. So inside interactions, we created this, where is it? Let's see here. Subscribe to events function right here. We actually need to call it. So I didn't even think about that yet. Let's go to my transactions, or actually let's go to the content section. Okay, so let's subscribe to the events inside of here. All right, so we'll just call that subscribe to events function that we just defined and pass in the necessary arguments. Let's say await subscribe to events, and we'll say this.props.dispatch, or sorry, we have dispatch already. This will be props.exchange, and then also dispatch. All right, so what I want to do is refactor this a little bit. I'm going to just pass in this .props here. I'll say const exchange, and then this will be props. Sorry, let's do this. Dispatch and exchange, this will equal props. Okay. So that'll be that, and then this will be this. All right, so let's actually flip-flop these because I want to be consistent. So exchange and dispatch and exchange and dispatch. So I'll do this. All right, so we might have gone off track with some of these things along the way. Sorry, guys. Let's do this. So let's make sure we're consistent. Exchange, then dispatch is what we want. So let's do exchange, then dispatch. So sorry about that, but that should be, that looks a lot better to me. So we just pass in props, and then we read dispatch and exchange out of props, and then pass those into each of these. All right, so save that. Okay, so subscribe to events is still not defined. That's okay. We can import it like this. All right. Okay, so now let's try to cancel an order. We're running low on orders, but that's okay. We have seeds that we can always rerun if we have to. So I'll click cancel. See the MetaMask confirmation pop up, and let's see if it goes away. All right, there we go. It worked. So we just canceled that order, and it disappeared from our list, right? It also disappeared from the open orders. So let's try it again. I'm going to do 60, and 60 should disappear. So 60, MetaMask confirmation, boom. All right, and 60 goes away, and we can see 60 goes away from our open orders as well. So our app is updating in real time. Awesome, very cool. So let me just explain how that works. The cancel order goes in the Redux state. It goes into these canceled orders, right? And then, our order book selector is basically just removing all the canceled orders from the open orders to build the order book. And our React component is detecting state changes as they happen and just updating itself. So that's why our orders get updated here, and the order book gets updated here as well. So that's really great. All right, we've successfully canceled all the orders.